here. Been a while. Assistant comment editor of the Daily Telegraph. We say Happy New Year. Poppy Coburn, how are you, Pops?
Happy New Year. I'd like to say it is a Happy New Year in Britain, but it's probably not, is it?
Not really, and because I'm a man and I moan about everything, I spent 2 weeks in bed with the flu and I feel rotten still, so there we go.
And it's not man flu, it's actually the very nasty one that's going down. Don't worry, it's taking my mum out too.
It's always, everybody says to me, my mum had that or my dad had that, which makes me realise I should definitely have that flu jab next year. Poppy, welcome to the show. Just very quickly, because you cover America, and I'd love your response. I mean, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has just announced that he is stepping down as Prime Minister after, I think, something like 9 years. No time scale yet. He might have to stay on. It's a different system there. But my summing up would be, thank God another woke liberal disappears into the sunset as Donald Trump arrives in town on his Charger. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 months till national election is coming that is going to be utterly humiliating. I mean, talk about a landslide, not a Keir Starmer landslide, a real... People despise Trudeau. You know, Canadians, they're very polite people. You know, they're very softly spoken. The way they will talk about Justin Trudeau in the last couple of years is pretty unbelievable. He has failed on basically every regard. He's ruined their energy policy. He's upset their relationship with America. Now Trump's asking them to be a 51st state. And of course, he's opened the floodgates to a massive scale of immigration from all over the world, which has been extremely...
Who does that sound like? I'm trying to think who that sounds like.
But it makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, all of these politicians, you'd think one of them would learn. You would think one of them would look at what happened to the Conservative Party and go, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do that. Didn't seem to work over there. But they never do. They seem to keep
said it before Christmas on so many occasions. I don't understand why you wouldn't, as a politician in whatever country, stand up and say, look, this is my plan. I've listened to this, this and this. I'm going to take you with me. If I get it wrong, I'll put my hands in the air. I'll make mistakes. There'll be highs and lows. These people set out. It's a bit like the Labour Party with this agenda about, you know, the green economy, and we've got to... I mean, I'd love your response to this, because this will send my mother and father-in-law, who are listening, over the edge. This is only today. The government has opened the door to scrapping free prescriptions to the over 60s to raise more money for the NHS. So if you're over 60, which I will be on July the 8th, so now if I don't get frozen to death by the bloody Labour Party, I'm going to die because I can't get the medicine that I need if I can't afford it. It is utterly unbelievable.
Also, what is the framing here? To save money for the NHS. Sorry, what's the NHS for? It's the National Health Service.
And what's going to happen to the old people who don't... What's going to happen to the people who can't afford to buy the prescriptions? They're going to end up back in the bloody hospital.
Right, exactly. And, you know, this is what people don't understand. If you're over 60, if you're a pensioner, if you haven't got much money left, that £15 whatever prescription fee, that's a lot of money to you. It's the same thing with the winter fuel allowance. People talk about the elderly in this country like they're all secret millionaires. That is simply not true. But it's another instance of this government telling everyone they have to tighten their belts. Well, unless you're an asylum seeker, in which case, don't worry about it. Unless you're one of our public sector union workers, in which case we're going to bung you a big pay rise. It is literally one rule for one group of people and one rule for another. And if you don't vote Labour, sorry, you're out of luck. You're not going to get
pretty interesting, isn't it? So we're going to freeze the pensioners to death. Labour's own advice told them that 4,000 pensioners could die this winter, and we know that cold spell is on the way and is continuing. And now we're going to cancel prescriptions for over 60s. And yet today we find out that the Work and Pensions Department, and by the way, not just under Labour, but if I was him, I'd be dealing with something like this, has paid out £500 million over the last 4 years to dead people, right? And they have no real ability or right legally to get that money back. I mean, priorities, it's all wrong.
Well, honestly, I think if people knew the true scale of bureaucratic incompetence in the civil service, considering how much money, how many people are employed by it every year, it would shock you. And that is just talking about the national civil service. If you look into what some of the local councils are doing, where all of that money is going, I mean, we are talking about billions of pounds wasted every year. And again, we're still told there's no money left. Well, of course there is money left. If we can afford to be giving these mistaken payments, millions of pounds worth, there is money that is not being properly allocated. So somebody needs to be looking for it.
It's almost
and surely
as if,
if we're going to...
It's just, to me, there doesn't seem to be any plan about the importance of the right way to behave. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd be sorting out the DWP, I'd be looking after pensioners. Foreign criminals, we find out today, are more likely, 3 times more likely to be arrested for sexual offences. Close the bloody borders then. Make it more difficult. Don't shout the voice ago. Make it more difficult for them to come into the country.
No, but this one really hits quite home for me because, you know, I've had conversations with some young women my own age who live in London and feel totally petrified to walk home alone at night. And if you ask a lot of them, like, who's doing this to you? A lot of cases it will be people. I mean, I think there was a television presenter, Alex Phillips, who got a lot of stick for saying this, but some of them are foreign nationals. You can tell that they're foreign nationals. They don't speak English. They'll be harassing you. And if you try and say something about it, everybody goes, oh, well, you can't say that. How dare you say that? And you as a victim, you're suddenly turned around and you're the bad person.
Why are you not allowed to say that if it's factual? That's like the
but
people
who can't speak about these things.
But that's it's like people in this country who argue with me on this show when I say stop and search, in my opinion, should be escalated in London. I listened to that dreadful man who got a bleeding knighthood while I've been on holiday, Sir Sadiq. I'll never call him Sir Sadiq. He presides over all these things that are seemingly important in his woke world, but does nothing for knife crime. Stop and search, he will tell you, is racist. But 83% of the crimes against and by young men in this city, in London, are by young black men. That's not racist, that's a fact. It's the same as you're saying about sexual problems with foreign nationals. Why are we too bloody scared to do it?
And if we can't talk about it, if we cannot engage in our free speech rights and say this is what's going on, then people will continue to be victimised.
Yeah.
This is not just a word game. This is not about people getting offended. This is about people's lives. This is about people's lives in some cases being ruined. This is about people sometimes being raped or murdered.
Well,
okay, I don't care if that hurts feelings. If government ministers of all people cannot openly stand up and say we've got a major problem here, we need to fix this, then who can?
Well, the other thing this weekend...
that's their job.
Completely. And the other thing this weekend, of course, is I've been told by numerous people I shouldn't talk about it. I've been talking about it for months. What happened in Rotherham and Rochdale, the grooming gangs in this country, these were British Pakistani men. It took 8 long years to bring them to justice, and the police themselves admitted that the reason it took so long was because they feared... I don't know how they put it, causing cultural problems amongst communities, right? So there's me before Christmas going, so you can rape a child and get away with it, depending on the colour of your skin, for fear of... That's not how you police. You police on you break the law. And there was this story over the weekend, people are making all sorts of comments about there should be an inquiry, and did Starmer and people... Apparently in 2008, somebody inside the Labour government said they've made informed choices, the police shouldn't get involved. This is disgusting. There should absolutely be an inquiry into what happened in Rotherham. Not just the Labour Party, the Tories should have brought this in as well. We should be able to look after kids. I think it's just, the world's gone mad, man.
Well, look at the speech that Keir Starmer gave today. What does he talk about? He talks about people being rude to Jess Phillips. Now, Elon Musk did say things that were very inappropriate about Jess Phillips. I would say reflective of the strength of feeling that people have about these horrific cases, OK? But what does he say? What does he blame this on? The far right and people trying to score political points.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry, this is a political issue. This was a cover-up. This was a cover-up that involved police forces, social workers, that involved the sexual assault of thousands of children. This should be on the news every day. It is the biggest scandal in modern British history, bar none. It should be in the news all the time. Politicians should not just be apologising, they should be acting.
We've had this amazing woman, Maggie Oliver, who's fronted this out. You know, she resigned from the Greater Manchester Police because of the ineffectiveness. There was a sex abuse inquiry backed by Labour. She says, quite rightly, it didn't properly investigate the grooming gangs. It took 8 years. I think that's a stain on our society as much as it is what we talk about foreign criminals committing these crimes. But, of course, we live in a world now, Poppy, where there's millions of people who will say, oh, that's disrespectful to certain minorities or certain... No. If you rape a child or you rape or murder somebody, I don't care the colour of your skin, I don't care where you've come from, you should feel, surely, the full force of the law and the justice system. It should not be on not one... Hold on a second. If that was my daughter... It doesn't matter. I mean, for God's sake, that's awful.
I know, and the tragedy is as well, we talk about it like it is historic. Actually, people who have knowledge on the ground are saying these cases were still going on long after the first media reports were coming out in 2014. There are still cases of children who are being trafficked in the United Kingdom, and we're being told that we can't have another inquiry. Have you stopped this? Can Keir Starmer get up on stage and tell people with a straight face this is no longer going on? I don't think he can. I think he knows that that's not true. Okay, and until he can say that, then we need an inquiry at the very minimum. Are
you happy to stay there while I take a call? I want you to be involved. We're going to Exeter. David Poppy's with me. Got a couple of minutes on Drive. What do you want to say?
Just listening to Maggie Oliver this morning, and I have worked and spoken with a few of her associates on this very issue, and what you've got really was highlighted not just by Elon Musk, but a lot of other people have been trying to push it for quite a while, that the source and causation of this failure of leadership started with Gordon Brown, with the memo, where he, the cabinet decision, collective responsibility, arbitrarily decided to ignore the law. So, it's pretty binary. Do we have the rule of law, or do we have the abuse of arbitrary power? They chose to ignore statutory rape. So Maggie Oliver, toll-faced copper, she's got guts, stood up and went, no, I want to go and prosecute these people. I want to put them in, I want to nick them. But what we've got, all the chiefs of police all went, well, no, we've been told by the Home Office we're not going to do that because it's come from Cabinet. No, but that's where the challenge has got to go. We've got to go to Brown and the Cabinet at the time and go, right, what was going on? What's actually the situation here? Because, I'm not on my own with this. What I see there is abuse of arbitrary power, and it's revealing, this particular thing has revealed just how badly our system of governance is broken.
And that to me, just very quickly, that's a very intelligent way of looking at it, and I'm sure you're spot on. I'm just sat here and wondering how anybody of whatever level, be it a civil servant or a politician, a journalist, a commentator, a broadcaster, can say they made an informed choice. Well, that's an 8-year-old child being raped. How does anybody sit, Poppy, around a cabinet table, wherever, and make that bloody decision? That's an outrage.
And isn't this just proof, by the way, that this is a political issue?
Yeah.
It was a political choice that was being made that involved the CPS and involved cabinet ministers, in which case it's not just a problem. I mean, obviously, let's send the perpetrators at the very least to jail and deport the people we can deport. But this is an institutional failing. We should go after this like the Catholic Church went after child sexual abuses. Okay, there should be complete and total audit. Who said what? Who did what? Who gave this advice? Why did they give this advice? And I want this to be televised like we did with the COVID inquiry. That is what we should be expecting from the government at the moment. Not weasel words about emboldening the far right and saying you don't like Elon Musk. That is totally, totally irrelevant.
Completely agree with you. David in Exeter, thank you. Poppy, do me a favour. I'm doing this publicly. Will you come on next week? Come on every week. We love you. Please say yes.
I shall.
Fantastic. Thank you, Poppy Coburn, assistant comment editor at the Daily Telegraph.